one of the things that I love in the last 12 years or so, I was supposed to move to Los Angeles, and for various family reasons, I decided I would stay in Chicago and do everything I could to build a career here. And I want to personally thank our filmmaker who's joining us in studio, because she single-handedly is the reason that I've had a few roles on Chicago Fire, and now I did a scene on Chicago PD, so I'm very excited about that. So Brittani Ward joins us in studio, and I ran into you, Brittani, filmmaker. Now, I didn't know were you filmmaking when I ran into you at Joe's like 15 years ago?
I believe I was writing an early draft of this same movie on receipt paper while you were a star of the Mikey O comedy show, and I thought I must know that person.
Oh, well, you came up to me. We were talking. You said you were at I think P&R Casting, one of the casting agencies.
I started my career as an intern at Pascal Rudnicki Casting here in Chicago when I was straight out of school, straight out of DePaul University.
So I was ready to give up auditioning because I'm a stand-up comic, and one of the agents I had spoken that I had from Ford, they were doing commercial and film and stuff back in the early 2000s. My agent said, "You're adorable. If you just lost like 35 pounds, I could get you more work." And I'm like, I didn't get into stand-up comedy to do that. So when I got with Stewart, like they loved that I do stand-up, but I went on so many auditions, and I was just like, I can't. I just like it's a haul. It's a lot. I mean, it was hundreds of auditions, and you were so kind to me. You're like, you told me you auditioned great. It's often just it comes down to the look that the casting director or the client wants, and so you single-handedly got me staying on that path of just keep showing up. And that's really what it takes in acting. I mean, you have to be ready for that, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. And in filmmaking, too. And I'm fortunate that casting career segued into a very actor-friendly directorial process, a lot of collaboration with a few of the other actors that we have here today.
Is that true? Does she collaborate? I'm kidding. Yes. But yes, go ahead. Sorry.
That's it. That's it. I mean, I think... Yeah, it's a long haul to be in entertainment. It can be a lonely pursuit, even though it is a pursuit that people think of as all very glamorous and you're at these very fancy parties. And a lot of times that's true. It is a fun lifestyle when it's going well. And it's also a grind. You also have to be really persistent about your art. I think a lot of us are feeling just the nature of being human beings in this very oversaturated world, whether it's with the headlines and the politics happening right now on social media, in our pursuit of our passions and our day jobs. How can we keep on keeping on to create something that brings meaning to our lives and can impact others?
And good for you really, again, it's not easy to stick it out and to have that idea that you write down on receipts. I mean, how crazy was it for you to bring this to life?
It was the most surreal. It was so crazy. On the second day of filming, I remember very distinctly is when it kind of all caught up to me, and I just had to go outside and nobody could find me, and Trevor knew where to find me, the lead actor of this movie, one of my best friends, and he found me, and I was just sobbing, just tears pouring down my face because I had loved this thing for so long. It's a lot like motherhood. I know that you were a mother, and I had become a mother in pandemic myself, so I had the experience of wanting a baby girl for a long time and then bringing her into the world, and people are helping you navigate that. And that's what my first time directing felt like to me. It felt like, are you going to help me take care of this baby? Are you going to help me take care of this baby? I don't know how to make this baby on my own. And sure enough, people said yes, 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 until we were making it, until we were editing it, until we were releasing it to today.
And here we are. So it's Brittani Ward. She's a filmmaker, director, producer for the film Single Car Crashes, which is about, is it an Illinois town, but filmed primarily in Chicago?
Great question. It's initially inspired by my life in McHenry County, which is a pretty rural suburb equidistant between Chicago and Milwaukee. And we shot this film in Highwood, Illinois, which is a little
I love
village.
Highwood.
Yeah, it's in Highwood.
Everyone's telling me that.
Yeah, it's adjacent to Highland Park. It's a blast. It's a day drinkers town. It's a movie for day drinkers.
Jen Zanotti, who was on at 5:15, she's a native of Highwood. She grew up there.
Oh, we have to tell her. She'll have to see it. She'll recognize every single location.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to say she's a day drinker. That was the connection.
I don't talk out of class. I don't. That's for her to share, not me. I mean, I do. But that's the voice of Trevor Morgan, who is an actor, writer, and director whose career spanned over 30 years in the film industry. And we also and next to him, if you're watching on our live stream, Paula Olszynski.
Yeah, very good. Olszynski.
I was so close.
You're so close. It was good.
Olszynski.
Yeah, it's hard.
Excellent.
It's hard.
First generation. I love that. It's so funny because being first generation in your family, Polish American, and I don't know how familiar you are with this neighborhood, but
I'm very familiar.
Did you stop over at Andy's Deli? Because if you don't speak Polish, you are out of luck.
I actually had my wedding reception at Gala Banquets.
So did I.
Because they married each other.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you're married to each other? Wait, so where's Gala? Milwaukee?
It's literally like half a block from here on Milwaukee.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, Polish. It's a Polish venue too. Yeah,
it's the one with the gray front. Like it's got kind of a darker front to it.
I think so.
And they show the parking lot with the Fifth Third Bank.
Yes, that's what that was on the invitation to the wedding. P.S. Free parking at Fifth Third Bank.
That's so because we take my son on tricycle rides. Cycling for his therapy, he does tricycle rides. So we always will see like weddings and stuff. And I love seeing people like celebrating. How would you recommend that? Well, you know what? You have to tell me on the air.
Marriage?
Yeah, no. The Gala banquet hall.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful.
Bring your microphone a little bit closer to you if you swing that.
Sorry.
You can swing. That's all right. I just want to make sure I catch all your voices. So Gala was a good place to
it was
have
awesome.
your reception.
They were wonderful. Super easy to work with. The food was incredible. Loads of food.
I love that you got married right down the block
shelf
from
liquor.
I was there as well. There was a fair amount of limoncello, and I was an unofficial groomsman.
Nice.
So I started the party with them at 11 a.m. and wrapped up that wedding at about 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Yeah.
Where did you have the ceremony?
At Gala. Oh, no, the ceremony.
That's impressive. Hey.
No, the ceremony, we got married at St. Hyacinth Basilica.
Oh, nice. That's beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how long have you all known each other then, Brittany? So you said you were friends with Trevor for quite a bit?
We've known each other since 2012.
Okay.
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. 13 years.
Which is roughly
Longer because I feel like, because him and I have been together for almost 12 years. And you knew him way before.
Not way before.
No?
Not way before, but 2011, 2012, right? So if I was in Los Angeles working as a casting associate, I first met Trevor when he came in to audition.
Okay.
And thought, who is that? And also I recognize him from us being the same age, and so I've been come up seeing him in various movies and TV throughout the years. But then to meet him in person and see what a talented actor he was, my casting bosses at the time, Amber Horn and Daniela Fierro, knew that Trevor, in addition to being an amazing actor, is also an exceptional filmmaker himself. And he was looking for somebody to hire some actors for a project he was shooting in Chicago. So then I flew back home to Chicago to help with that project. And that's when we became very close friends. At the same time, these two were starting to date. So it was quickly after that I met Paulina. Yeah.
So Trevor, did you go from Chicago to LA? Are you from Chicago originally?
Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago area. Basically, my grandparents bought one of the first houses in Streamwood forever ago, so all around that Schaumburg area is where I kind of grew up. But I spent quite a bit of time in Los Angeles, so I feel like I've spent probably about half and half my entire life.
When did you move to LA?
My parents moved out when I was about 10 for different reasons. And
not to get you in the film industry. Get out there, kid. Make us some money.
It just sort of worked out. Okay. But we would always come back for Christmas and summer. And then they moved back. I'm trying to think of when that was. Over a decade, 2 decades maybe. And I stayed in LA, but then I would spend a lot of time out here, and then we moved back officially in 2017.
To Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, we lived in Elgin for a while.
Yeah, for about 6 years.
And Paulina, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Harwood Heights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went
right over here.
Right here.
All right.
Yeah. Went to Union Ridge, went to Ridgewood High School.
I have friends that went to. I grew up in Norwood Park.
Okay.
So I'm right down the street from where I grew up. Yeah. So super dogs in my DNA. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, a lot of this. I'm older, so I'm like trying to think of the things in Harwood because I'm sure people told you there used to be a roller rink.
Elliott's.
Oh, Elliott's. Yeah. Yeah,
their beef sandwich.
And there used to be a cookie place on Harlem Avenue too that you would smell like from miles
away.
Yeah, it's the
most incredible
like
smell.
sugar cookies.
Yes,
all the time.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So when did you get started in acting? Were you drawn to the theater or?
It took me by surprise. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I wanted to go to med school.
Okay.
And work with kids and be a pediatrician. It kind of came out of nowhere. I was forced into doing part of a language arts class in like the 5th grade. We had to pick like a scene or a monologue or a poem or something, and for a grade, and ended up doing a scene with like 2 of my friends called Bubbles Goes to School. And then there was this West 40 Speech and Drama Festival that the teacher would be in charge of and a part of, and she's like, hey, you guys are doing a great job. You want to go to this festival and like try and win an award for our school? And I was like, okay, sure. Performed for the first time in front of everyone, and it scared the crap out of me. But I fell in love with it, and then kind of told my parents this is what I want to do. And
how'd they react to that?
Ooh, terrified.
Yeah. Especially when your kid tells you they want to be a doctor. Like, that's exciting.
Yeah,
like,
and being first generation, to like go to school, become a doctor, a lawyer,
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
First generation Mexican, Mexican American, yeah.
So, but then they jumped on board and believed in me and
good.
Championed,
same, by the way.
And so
it makes a difference.
Right? It really does.
And now, Trevor, did your interest in acting start because you were kind of surrounded by the industry in LA, or when did you get bitten?
So I got involved because I was a pretty precocious child. And I was running around in Woodfield Mall, and I was doing a Beetlejuice impersonation, and a local casting director by the name of Sherry Mann saw me and told my mom to take me to a commercial casting audition the next day, and my mom was a little bit put off, and like, this is a little weird, but she took me anyway. Yeah. And I got it. It was a Mrs. Dash commercial, and that's how it started.
Holy cats! Did you like it right out of the gate, or was it something you're like, okay, I guess I'm doing this?
I loved it.
Oh, good.
But I think I also loved I love spending time in my own imagination, and I also love talking to people. So, I was really good with adults, I guess, and I just really enjoyed it.
Excellent. And now, Brittani, our filmmaker, director, writer, when did you get drawn to wanting to tell stories?
I wanted to be a writer my whole life, for as long as I can remember. I wrote the Tooth Fairy Tales in kindergarten and won an award at the full K through 8 school or whatever it was. In grade school, I would write these plays and make all the students spend their recesses rehearsing it for a show that was never going to come. Just make them do it as an activity. So when I was in about 7th grade is when I had professors, or teachers, I guess not professors at the time, say, here's this screenwriting book. You want to be a screenwriter? Okay, great. And then it just added to my belief. Actually, that same teacher that I'm thinking of, John Riley, recently messaged me, and I owe him a message back because he watched Single Car Crashes from his home in Florida, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he thinks about it. So that level of belief from mentors, not just John, that teacher, but my parents, especially, first and foremost, my parents, my grandparents, other teachers that I had, that allowed me to then go to University of Iowa for a couple of years, and then DePaul here in Chicago. DePaul's digital cinema program is absolutely incredible, and I was one of the first graduates of it.
Whoa.
And studied screenwriting there. But during college, that love for writing combined with a bit of a background in extracurricular acting. I used to just be in the musicals or sing the national anthem. I never intended to pursue acting professionally. That combination then segued me into casting for the first third of my career. But my passion has and always was in writing and wanting to direct. And then once you take that detour into something that's similar, even if it's pretty close, it's hard to find your way back.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I love that. So we've got to know a little bit about the director, writer, producer of Single Car Crashes, as well as the actors in the film, it is now available for rent or purchase on all your digital HD platforms. Right?
Yeah.
It's been available since February 7th. Again, congratulations on that. So we'll talk about the film Single Car Crashes when we come back with Trevor, with Paulina, and with Brittani when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I was just gushing about actor-director Paul McCrane because my guests in studio are familiar. At least Brittany Ward is familiar with his work. I told a story about being on the set. And real quick, because you guys are Trevor and Paulina. I don't know if you're old enough to remember his role on ER as Dr. Robert Romano. So I was standing there with LaRoyce Hawkins, who plays a cop on Chicago PD. And by the way, we're with the actors and the writer-producer of the film Single Car Crashes. And so I turned to LaRoyce Hawkins, who I was doing the scene with, and I go, I can't see him without a helicopter landing on him. And he goes, what? And so he pulls up the video. There's like a montage of Paul McCrane being attacked by helicopters repeatedly because he was. He had like his arm cut off on ER, and then it ultimately killed him. Spoiler alert. But
that's right. That's his gruesome end.
Yes, and all these kids. So all like LaRoyce is like, and then he's showing it to the other actors. They had no idea. So they're like, well, who did he tick off? The writers or the audience or both? And so it was really fun to share that element of this regular director on Chicago PD. And so, but you expressed some admiration for him. And so tell me a little bit about what it's like working with friends and bringing this dream of yours to the screen and like going through that process.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I have to say, yes, +1 to the praise to Paul McCrane, and also shout out to LaRoyce Hawkins, who both of those people that you just described and the people that are sitting next to me right now are just such authentic people.
Yes.
First. Right? I mean, that's really where I think a lot of my collaboration starts, is to really be able to know somebody and know them for real, right? So that you can then create a character, build a world together. And we all have a lot in common. Even though we didn't know each other before moving in LA, we all have these Midwestern roots. I think it's a fun thing that Trevor and I are best friends, that Paulina and I are best friends, because we didn't meet in the suburbs here. We met in Los Angeles.
How wild is that?
So many miles away, became so close, only to come back and realize how much we had in common, right? So just the openness to connect with people in that regard, to find chemistry in your personal and professional collaborations is a real gift, I think, in this lifetime. And I appreciate it about myself, that I have a real openness and a real intuition about people that was then further honed from years and years and years of casting. My extroversion specifically was honed by that. Checking my instincts against, okay, is this the person the right fit for the role? Is this a person that's going to call me back? Is this a person that's going to show up to set on time? Right. And then you develop that intuition over time into more of an actionable skill, which is what I had coming into the casting process of Single Car Crashes. But before I was even casting it, per se, I was really building it with these two. Trevor read an early draft of the script because I respected his work so much as an actor, as a writer, as a filmmaker. So one of these earliest drafts, 2012, 2013, whenever it was, that he read. And it's one of the things that bonded us, because it's a script that's so heartfelt about interpersonal human connection, which we are both very passionate about in real life. And so from there, we would keep in touch about it over the next few years. And then when I had another draft ready to go, Paulina and Trevor generously, and somebody else that's very dear to us all, an actor named Joey Morgan, and a few other actors, all came together and did this celebratory table read and built these characters. And then another year went by and I didn't have the money yet, and they did another table read for me, and then another table read for me.
Wow.
And so a lot of the things that are in this movie are from those actors' mouths, even little improvisations that happened at the table reads. Paulina was supposed to play a different character, and she read that character in every single one of the reads. And then we thought, well, we need to give you the biggest role that we can find for you in this instead, because you're too good. But then those little Paulina-isms stayed in that character and informed the casting of it. So
what a fun collaboration.
It's a journey, really, together.
Well, Trevor, tell us about your character, Sean, and the story that you guys have apparently so joyously brought to us.
Sure. Sean is crippled by regret and grief. And to me, the thing that drew me to the script was, in my opinion, it always spoke to me as, two different ways of handling grief. Mm-hmm. One is with grace and one is much harder. And harm in a way by just beating yourself up. And it's funny because when she finally made the film, it finally came back around after years. It hit me at a time when I was very connected to Sean because I was experiencing my own grief. It felt almost manipulative that she asked me to do it. It's about a guy who drinks too much and is really can't get over the death of his best friend. And I was okay, all right. But it was perfect timing because
okay.
All right. You do what you have to do to get the movie made.
Hey, it was a smart move. I'm not gonna lie.
Holy cats! All right.
And it was kind of perfect for me because it helped me with my own grief journey. But to go back to your more direct question is who is Sean and what the movie is about is Sean is a person who can't forgive himself for his past and blames himself for his best friend's death.
Okay.
And lives in that shadow of himself and hasn't grown up.
Wow. And so Paulina, we've been talking about this film. It's Single Car Crash is available for rent or purchase wherever you stream.
Yeah, anything VOD in North America and Canada. So driving people to Amazon Prime, to Apple TV, anywhere like that you can rent or own.
And they film right near some of the greatest restaurants in the Chicagoland area, by the way. In Highwood. So, Paulina, tell us a little bit about your like the way you've seen this film sort of evolve and then helping bring it to life as well.
Yeah, so as Brittany said, I was a part of Table Reads, was originally cast to play Emily, and I always secretly was hoping and praying that I would get to play Jane. And hilariously, and very grateful for it, I did get the opportunity to play Jane. She was one of my favorite characters in the script. And basically Jane is, I guess you would say, childhood best friends with Sean and Kendall, who ends up coming back to town and getting married, and was also a childhood friend of Zachary, who ended up passing away early on in high school. And I actually, how would you say it? She gets together with Sean's character and
baby mama.
Yeah, the baby mama. We have a baby together. And it's kind of, just the journey and kind of staying by, she's been sticking by Sean's side throughout all of it and watching him kind of, go down this dark path and trying to figure life out and, championing him and rooting for him and wanting the best for him and their son. And yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you brought this story to life and that you also got distribution because, having had experience in Los Angeles, I mean, like that whole push for years has been, what do they call it? The big tent, right? One of the big tent movies, old and young, men and women, which is how we ended up with so many comic book movies. And we don't have as many elevated stories like this as we used to, like when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. It was a lot of that,
Yeah, stylistically, in terms of inspiration and comps, it's very late 90s, early 2000s in filmmaking approach.
Right.
That was a time when independent film was so celebrated and did have this very prestigious moment. I believe and hope that is coming back today. But what I'm proud of about the movie is that nostalgic relatability. I think it gives people a lot of relief. There's certainly an element to the Sean character, to the tone of the movie, that reflects what I think we're all feeling culturally post-pandemic, post-union strikes for us in the entertainment industry, talking about, hearing from your listeners today about the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza. I think Paul from Seattle was talking about, like Trevor was saying in the character, beating himself up, right? So I think that we can all relate to those feelings of languishing. And what this movie does is it offers a nostalgic, cathartic release that just says, yeah, we're all people living here together. And as long as we're alive, we can make changes in how we spend our time and who we love and how we love to become better. And it's an exploration of using friendship as the vehicle to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that when you mention catharsis, I think that we're missing a lot of that, and especially the way we consume art now, right? Which, I mean, like, so this is streaming, so folks can be watching in the comfort of their home.
Yeah.
When you're watching, like, some of these shows and you're binge watching, hour-long shows, and like, one of the things that that jumped out at me during the strike, I was a strike captain here in Chicago for SAG-AFTRA, and one of the conversations that I had with some folks and that I was reading about too is that, like, we used to sit with stories, right? Like, this is a story that you can sit with. Like, when we would watch a TV show, you'd have to wait till the next week to find out what the next thing was, right? You could sit with the story. But, like, it's how do you even remember what happened 8 hours ago when you've just been watching it stream? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get the desire for instant gratification, but taking time with a story like this, I think, is so important.
Yeah, it does. It builds up. The tension catches you by surprise because it's a pretty straightforward narrative that's told in really interesting ways throughout because of the expert actors that we have and their interesting dynamics in the way that we cast it, where it's just a certain character does not look the way you thought it was going to look in terms of casting decision, or what happens at the wedding is probably not what you're predicting is going to happen at the wedding. Even the relationship between these two characters where they have a kid together, narrative storytelling would suggest that you want these two to end up together, but it's just a more complex and interesting relationship than that, through which Paulina's character Jane finds a lot of strength and autonomy herself. So I like what a thinking, relatable piece it is, and it's also, even though it has, like, you can sit with it and it does have a lot of these complex themes, it's also really funny. Like, laugh out loud, pee your pants, raucous funny because of Trevor's inherent comedy in particular, and that's why he was always the best person for this role, because there's a loving Midwestern charismatic charm that you almost can't find in most actors this intelligent and this strong. So yeah, it's fun too.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What was like? Do you have? Because one of the things I find with actors and directors, they don't always know some of the things that happen along the way that you didn't really talk about. What's something that, like, kind of jumps out for you, Paulina, when it came to filming? What surprised you the most in filming this? Would you?
Gosh, I did not expect that at all.
This question's very surprising.
What did I not?
What did you expect? Like, what surprised you when bringing this voice to the screen? I know. Or, like, any little weird thing. Like, believe me, because, like, sometimes we forget those moments. And it's been a while since you filmed this, so it's not fair for me to ask
Trevor,
that.
do you have anything? And I'll go
that
after
surprised you.
There was one, for me or something for you?
I don't know.
Because I can think of something that caught you by surprise.
Oh. Can you give her a hint?
Same thing?
The couch scene?
Yeah, the couch scene.
Yeah.
Caught you by surprise.
Yeah. So, going back to... sorry, what Trevor was saying about how we both lost someone that was very close to us. And it was a scene between mine and Trevor's character, Jane and Sean, where our child came to us and what was it? Sorry, help me out here. I have pregnant brain.
The setup for the scene is that the young son says, was I an accident? Why didn't you just have an abortion?
Okay.
And it's the two parents reckoning with that after. And it's an apolitical answer, although I myself am extremely pro women's reproductive rights. But we didn't dive into that in this movie. It was just the truth about these characters, and that truth was a line that Paulina had.
Yeah. That I struggled with, and I could not get through that scene for the life of me, and I had to take a couple moments, and Brittany walked upstairs with me and kind of talked me through it and kind of calmed me down, and I had to recenter myself, and it was I forget the line now.
Human
now that I'm on the spot.
Yeah, she's looking at Trevor, who's her partner in real life.
Right.
And she's also
I wanted to keep you forever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I was thinking of one, our best friend.
Great line.
That passed away, and I could not get through it. I could not get through it because I just
now making you relive it. What a horrible interviewer I am.
No, it's great.
No, it's beautiful. It's great.
That's what the movie was about, right? Like that moment, that like bonding together to get through it moment is the theme beautiful. Of the film.
Yeah.
I should have made Trevor go first.
No, I'm glad.
I have one that involves both of you.
Oh.
That was Billy Deck, local entrepreneur here and nationwide.
Yeah.
We did a rehearsal, the two of them, with Billy Duck in the scene that's halfway. And in the initial script, like, he's supposed to just get out and leave, like, halfway through while they're mid-fight. And instead, we explored with what about if he stays? And then it was like, well, what if they're not making out? What if something else, like his shirt is off? So all of a sudden, like, Billy Duck's shirt is off, and he's got to borrow Paulina's shirt, and then Trevor steals his shirt and throws it outside, and there's like a lot happening from an improv-based way that just took this scene that was meant to be a little bit charged and instead just made it wild and almost circus-like in its appeal, and it's my favorite scene in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
There you go.
How we found that. Yeah.
And Trevor, how about yourself? How about your...
I mean, you kind of stole what I was
Oh, no.
Just of how fun that was.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I mean, there was a lot of different things that were surprising about, the film itself, or, different challenges that we had. But I think every day and the work that I was trying to put in under the guise of not only do I want to do a great job, but I also have, the stakes of wanting to do a great job for one of my best friends and know how much time and effort she's put into it. But then the weight of everything I was dealing with grief-wise to then be reflected something to learn about myself was the coolest part of the experience, which is why I'll always be grateful for it.
That's amazing. Again, I mean, like, this film is just it's just imbued with so much richness, right? Whether it's the writing, the directing, the relationship you all have both on screen and off screen, and also I love anything that's filmed in the Chicagoland area and supports both not just the economy but elevates who we are as a community. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you've done that. So let me take a break here and we'll continue our conversation with our friends, Paulina, Trevor, and Brittani from we're talking about the film Single Car Crashes, and it's available to stream, rent, or purchase wherever you enjoy that entertainment on HD platforms. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Also, that's internet, cable, and satellite. Just want to make sure I get all that right. Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities, in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
See, this is how I love what I do. We're talking to cast and crew from the film Single Car Crash is available to rent or purchase on all platforms, digital, your internet, cable, and satellite. I was asking them earlier, Paulina, Trevor, and Brittani, about anything that surprised them during the filming, and somebody just remembered something that they...
Well, I'm going to set Trevor up to tell it. It was not necessarily during the filming, but after the filming, on the very last day of filming, when we were at a dive bar together celebrating, and it was Halloween, and we were all in Halloween costumes. If you're familiar with Highwood, it's important to know that everything is decorated. There are life-size plastic skeletons everywhere. And while we are just minding our own business on Wednesday at 11 p.m., getting one more beer.
Yeah, it was one last one.
One last beer.
Yeah, one last beer before we had to drive. And then all of a sudden someone came in, and I saw the corner of my eyes that there was blood on his hands, and I was like, "Well, it's Halloween,
Oh, no!
And then he's like, "I've been stabbed," and I was like, and no one's paying attention to him. I'm like, "Oh no, he's real. This is real. He's stabbed." So I run over there. Brittani, for some reason, we both are like, "This is our time to shine. This is what we were made to do."
My Girl Scout badge is not for naught.
Exactly. I get him down to sit on a stool, and then she pulls a skeleton off of a decoration on the wall and then puts it, like, creates pressure on
now it's a skeleton. I try to rip the T-shirt off the skeleton, but it's plastic, so you're trying to like get it off of its elbows, and it's not as easy as it looks. Apply pressure to the wound. Trevor's holding this man's head in his hands, like, stay with me, buddy, talking to him about his kids. We get the paramedics call. The guy's totally fine. We're laughing about it now. He was completely fine, made a full recovery, but in the moment, it felt very serious.
Filmmakers and lifesavers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, before we go, do you have another project that you're working on, another baby?
I do. I'm in post-production on a proof of concept called Out of the House. That's a movie like Rami meets Insecure, but with an Indian female lead. And we shot in a Hindu temple in Grays Lake. So that'll be hitting the festival circuit. And then I am writing a TV pilot called Hush Money. That's a nuanced critique of ourselves and each other in the entertainment industry when it comes to sexual harassment. And then that's a comedy. It's not haha all the time, but it's like funny about that. And then
the bear can be a comedy.
Anything can be a comedy, including Single Car Crashes, which is about grief but also funny. And then I have another feature film that I'm going to be directing called Ectopic. That's a fertility horror. And I'm going to shoot that probably end of this year.
Everyone should be following all the careers of our wonderful guests in the studio. Do you have any social media handles you want people to follow you? Or I don't want to...
Teamorg22.
Teamorg. That's Trevor Morgan. I was so good the last time. Paulina Olszynski.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to have you both in studio and to meet you, and I'm glad that Brittani brought us all together. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you ever want to talk about other projects, and the door is always open.
Thank you. We will. And I'll share the handle on Instagram to follow to keep in touch with Single Car Crashes is at 521 Films. That's all words spelled out, and films is plural. 521 Films on Instagram is where we post the most relevant news.
Well, thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you again.